Uh,
Good afternoon, members of the panel on Home Affairs. Good afternoon. A very happy Chinese New Year to you, albeit a bit late. I wish everyone good health and prosperity. Today's meeting was supposed to be chaired by Mr. Vincent CHENG. However, he is working from home and he cannot attend today's meeting in person. As the deputy chairman of this panel, I will preside over the meeting. Still, Mr. Vincent CHENG will be with us online. Thank you. I think many people are used to having meetings over Zoom. Still, as per our procedures, I have to mention some rules about a Zoom meeting. Please keep your video function switched on and show your face so that our secretariat colleagues can count the quorum, and also for the audience to see your face. Please set your screen to horizontal mode. We have three kinds of colored background. For EC members, they are in orange. FC members are green, and GC members purple. The Secretariat has counted the quorum. A quorum is present. I call to order the meeting. Item 1. Information papers issued since the last meeting. In the previous meeting was held on the 25th of January. The Secretariat has issued 2 papers since the meeting. The first paper, letter dated the 31st of January 2022 from Mr. Michael Luk, requesting the discussion of the development of a new community development platform. And the other paper is the letter dated the 4th of February from Mr. Vincent CHENG about items for discussion. Members, please take note of the papers. If there is no question, item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. On the 7th of February this year, Mr. Vincent CHENG, the chairman, and myself have met with the Secretary for Home Affairs. That's a work meeting where we discuss the work plan for this year. The list of items for discussion has been circulated. The list has been updated after the meeting. The administration has proposed 19 items for discussion. These are very important items. There are portfolios under the HAB, including districts, 5 items, and sports, 4 items, and culture, 4 items, and for youth, 5 items, as well as the briefing on community care fund. Altogether, 15 items. It's cover a comprehensive scope of issues. The next meeting will be held on the 14th of March in 1 month's time. That's a Monday, 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. The administration proposed that we discuss the following 2 items at the first meeting. First, the progress of reviewing CAP 344 Buildings Management Ordinance. And the second item is improving the arrangements of electing representative of rural areas. Both items require legislation, and they are as the top of the agenda of this time of the government. That's why the administration wished to discuss these 2 matters as the first meeting, subject to the comments of members. Ms. Rebecca Chen, any comments? or rather Miss Rebecca Chen. Please don't mix us up. I'm Miss Rebecca Chen. Now, on the 14th of March, today, it is the 14th in 1 month's time. Even if the epidemic alleviates, if social distancing measures are relaxed, we still have a lot of free new buildings in different districts and subdivided flats. These households require support from the Home Affairs departments and district offices. Thorough cleansing is required for the buildings. So on the 14th of March, even if the epidemic eases out, should we discuss the cleansing of communities? Thank you. Sorry, the frame is rather small and the monitor is quite far away. Sorry. So for Ms. Rebecca Chen's suggestion, I will convey it to the administration. And Mr. Vincent Chang, the chairman. Thank you, Deputy Chairman. And thank you, Ms. Rebecca Chen, for her suggestion. During the discussion with the administration, I understand that the amendments of CAP 344 and also the election of rural areas representatives, these are quite urgent. So I think the administration can tell us more about the management or cleansing of buildings because it is related to CAP 344 as well. Thank you, Chair. If there is no more comments, we agree. We will agree with the arrangements about the two items. Item 3, proposals to appoint a subcommittee on policy issues. At the previous meeting, after the previous meeting, we have received a suggestion from Ms. Jovi Chan to establish a subcommittee on youth policy matters to review the youth affairs and support services for youth, as well as the youth policies of other jurisdictions, so that we can establish a comprehensive youth policy in Hong Kong and help them to tap the opportunities in GBA. The letter was sent by Ms. Jovi Chan on the 25th of January, setting out the terms of reference, proposed work schedule, and the work plan of the subcommittee. Concerning this proposal, I wonder if members have any suggestions or comments about the establishment of the subcommittee. Mr. Leung Yuk Wai. Thank you, Chair. I support the idea of establishing or implementing a youth policy. Of course, it is essential to have such a subcommittee in the LegCo, but should it be under the portfolio of the panel on Home Affairs? Well, the Home Affairs Bureau is responsible for youth affairs. However, it's also involve manpower, education, housing, and so on. If this subcommittee is established under this panel, then maybe the scope of discussion would be too narrowed. Maybe we should consider establishing a cross-panel subcommittee to discuss the youth development blueprints proposed by the Chief Executive. Thank you. Next, Mr. Benson Luk. Mr. Benson Luk. Thank you, Chair. I'm Benson Luk. I agree with Mr. Kenneth Leung. I thank fellow members for having concerns or paying attention to youth affairs. A lot of our work has to do with youth policies. Now, the paper suggests establishing a policy on the district affairs in relation to youth affairs. However, the Chief Executive's blueprint already incorporates the portfolios of 8 policy bureaus. Well, if we incorporate a national, an international horizon and so on, then 10 bureaus will be involved. If this subcommittee is set up under this panel, then maybe the government will not put sufficient focus on the portfolio of this subcommittee. So maybe we should consider a cross-panel subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. Luk. Mr. Vincent CHENG. Once again, thank you, Kenneth, for presiding over the meeting for us, and I apologize for my absence because I am working from home. Last time, we talked about youth policy. Prior to the meeting, I and Kenneth have met with the administration for several times for discussing this issue on this forum. In terms of a Greater Bay Area, participation in politics and housing and so on, there will be discussion opportunities. And also, home affairs is mostly related to district affairs. For youth affairs, maybe it is more appropriate to discuss this from a wider perspective. Still, I welcome the opportunity to discuss youth policy, and I'm also grateful for the proponent. Thank you, Mr. Vincent CHENG. So like the chairman said, during the work plan, during the work meeting with the administration, we convey the message to the secretary about members' wish to discuss youth policy. Like members said, youth policy is a focus of the government, and it is a cross-bureau issue, and we should involve more bureaus and departments during the course of discussion. So maybe we can propose to the House Committee to establish this subcommittee on youth policy affairs under the House Committee. Maybe that would be more appropriate.
Jovi, hi.
Jovi. Now, some members consider it more suitable to establish a subcommittee involving different bureaus. So maybe Ms. Jovi Chan can write to the House Committee to establish such a subcommittee. Thank you, Chair. My opinions have been set out on the paper. I don't object elevating the youth policy matters to the House Committee's level. Of course, multiple bureaus are involved, and also it is closely related to community work because we have to reach out to youth in the community. So I agree elevating the matter to the House Committee. As suggested by the Chairman, I will write to the House Committee. Assuming that the House Committee does not agree to my proposal, I hope we can follow up this matter as the panel on home affairs to show our care for the youth. We need task force or task group or working group to work with the counterparts in the administration. And also it is directly related to the panel on home affairs, no matter how the government is restructured. So I think we are the right panel to follow up on youth affairs, and we should take up this responsibility. I'm not objected to setting up a subcommittee under the House Committee. Still, if that doesn't work, I hope the subcommittee can be set up under this panel. Thank you, Jovi. Then we will try to establish a cross-departmental subcommittee under the House Committee. If that doesn't work, we can establish the subcommittee here. I agree with you because I have been involved in youth work for many years. So that's decided then.
Right.
If you don't have any further views, then let's move on to item number 4, briefing by the Secretary for Home Affairs on the Chief Executive's 2021 policy address. Shall we invite the administration to join us, please? Secretary, Permanent Secretary. All right, I hand you the floor, Mr. Jack Chen, Acting Secretary for Home Affairs, please. And I'll throw the floor open for questions. Members, I'll brief members on the highlights of the HAB's work, and then I'll be only too delighted to take members' questions. We are committed to youth work in this administration. We have rolled out a whole raft of measures to meet the needs of the young people, and through the YDC Youth Development Commission, we take advantage of this platform for all the stakeholders to promote the work of education, career pursuit, and home ownership, and taking part in politics on the part of young people. We will be improving the communication channel to listen to the young people's sentiments so that we can satisfy their aspirations in terms of education, career, upward mobility, and development of their potential. And we also help them seize the opportunities arising from the GPA and the 14 five-year plan. Depending on the COVID development, we will be promoting further exchanges and internship and entrepreneurship on the part of the young people for them to seize the opportunities arising from the national development and also get integrated into the national development and make contribution to Hong Kong and the nation. We have to foster positive thinking of the young people. The YDC is subsidizing the relevant NGOs to organize activities to promote positive thinking. In particular, we have cross-sectoral collaboration, and there are some programs that are youth-led. The YDC will also be promoting the diversified development for the young people, for them to create positive values and nurture a generation with a sense of responsibility and aspiration and willingness to strive for the future of Hong Kong and the nation. We'd like to rope in more young people into the ASBs. In 2017, we have launched the self-recommendation scheme, and this has been recognized in 2018. The scheme successfully nurtured a group of young people who are really committed. Up to the 4th round, we have 50 self-recommended youths that are taking part in different ASBs, and there are 102 quota. 6,800 applications have come through. The response has been really marvelous, and we have increased the number from 10 to 15, and the 5th round will be getting underway shortly. As of now, there are 270 young people who were or have been appointed to ASB to 440 different posts through this scheme. And from 2017, it was 7.8%. It has risen to 14.8% last year in terms of young people taking part in the ASBs. And this is pretty close to our target of 15%. In terms of sports, the Hong Kong team has scored 1 gold, 2 silver, and 3 bronze. And this is really marvelous. And at the Paralympics and the 14th National Games, our athletes have really delivered really marvelously. And they are doing the whole of Hong Kong proud. The government has announced a whole series of measures which will support the sustained development of sports. We will be rebuilding the facilities in the Hong Kong SI, which will be completed in 2024. And together with the Jockey Club Charities Trust, we have set aside $300 million for sports science and sports medicine, with a view to enhancing the competitiveness of our athletes in Hong Kong. We will be doing more in promoting sports for all, supporting elite sports, and promoting Hong Kong as a center for major international sports events. And in 2023, the Hong Kong, Kai Tak Sports Park will be completed, and with the GPA, there will be ample opportunities for the athletes, and there will be ample opportunity for career development. We have commissioned a consultant to look into this subject to see how we can further develop Hong Kong's sports as an industry, and we will be consulting the stakeholders. We're grateful to the central government's trust for Hong Kong to be joining hands with Guangdong province to organize the 2025 15th National Games. We'll be liaising with the ministers and commissions and Guangdong and Macau to deliver a national games which is simple, safe, and wonderful. We have been promoting sports in schools. We are creating a sporting culture on the campus. We're encouraging the schools to pay particular attention to the development of sports, to enhance the physical fitness and participation. The HAB and the Education Bureau will be reviewing the curriculum and the extracurricular activities to encourage more children to take part in sports and enable them to have more opportunity to take part in competitive sports. The Kai Tak Sports Park, which occupies 28 hectares, has already got underway in 2019 in construction. In terms of the construction landscaping, this has been completed, and we're dealing with the facade and the internal fitting and fixtures and the IT system, and we're doing all the verification work, the piling work, the underground structure have already been completed. We're dealing with the superstructure, and the prefab components are being delivered to the site progressively for assembly. In accordance with the latest progress, it is expected that the park will be coming on stream in 2023. In 2019, the LCSD launched the inclusive park for pets. This has gone down particularly well to the stakeholders. We have regularized the pet park, and starting from February last year, we have 35 inclusive parks for pets in different districts. The LCSD will be designating additional 60 such parks all over Hong Kong, taking the number to well over 100. The year before last, the LCSD launched a one-stop online resources center. The edutainment channel, I mean, this is a channel for people to get in touch with all the resources, and we are integrating education in entertainment. And this channel has been well received. As of January, 21 million people have already used the channel. We have well over 1,000 clips posted on the channel. We've also posted clips of the athletes from Hong Kong taking part in the Olympic Games. Other than 24 clips, we will be posting additional clips onto the channel featuring the athletes taking part in the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing. In terms of art and culture, we are grateful to the State Council for supporting Hong Kong's development as East meets West Center for International Cultural Exchange. The chief executive already announced that there will be 5 directions in this area. First, there will be world-class cultural facilities and pluralistic cultural environment. Number 2, connections with overseas arts and cultural organizations. Third, cultural exchange in cooperation with the mainland. Fourth, leveraging technology. And fifth, nurturing talent. And we will be enriching the art and culture brands, and we'll also be organizing the Hong Kong performing arts market. And this will be a trading market for arts and cultural products, and this will create additional opportunities for the practitioners in this field. And we're telling a good story about China. Through cultural exchange, we'll be showcasing our achievements, and there will be cooperation with organizations both in the mainland and overseas. We will be seeking to have relics and artifacts to be on display, on show in Hong Kong. There will be a multi-pronged approach to nurture talents. In particular, we will be nurturing talents in art administration, arts technology, or script production. There will be internship opportunities for the development of conservation of cultural heritage. We have incorporated these talents in this area into the talents list in the Quality Migrant Admission Scheme in order to bring in more talent to enrich the development in this area. We also have the Cantonese Opera Development Fund that will help the practitioners to further their education and upgrade themselves. And this is intended to promote the long-term sustained development of these ICH. In terms of arts tech, at the East Kowloon Cultural Center, there will be the lab to be created, which is a testbed, an incubator for the development of arts tech. And we're trying to integrate technology into arts creation, and we are trying to nurture more talents in art tech in Hong Kong. Finally, community building. There are a lot of Cho and Tong land in the NT. In order to release the potential there, we have set up a working group together with the Hung Yee-Kuk and the Development Bureau. We are reviewing the management mode of the Cho and Tongs while respecting the tradition of Cho and Tongs, and to maintain the legitimate interest of the Cho and Tongs. We will seek to improve the management and to deal with the land use. In December last year, the working group held the first meeting in which members expressed their comments regarding the management of Cho Tong land, and there were exchanges of opinions. We hope that the review will be wrapped up in a year's time with a view to identifying solutions. Good building management will not only improve living conditions, but will further build community building. We are offering support to the buildings for them to fulfill their responsibilities. On a pilot basis, we are inviting the local organizations to get in touch with the 3-0 buildings to encourage them to set up owners' cooperation. Now, this pilot scheme will be completed in Sam Shui Po, Tsuen Wan, and in Q1 and Q2. And in the course of the year, there will be further activities that will be undertaken all over Hong Kong, where in places where there are buildings with 3-0 buildings.
So that more owners corporations can be established. Chair, I welcome suggestions and comments from members concerning the work of the Home Affairs Bureau. Thank you. Thank you. Now I will open the floor for questions. I see a lot of hands. Members have indicated the wish to speak, so I'm going to read the names out. First, Mr. Michael Tian, Ms. Rebecca Chan, Mr. Michael Luk, Mr. Kenneth Leung, Ms. Doreen Kong, Mr. Chen Yong, Mr. Ng Ki Chong, and Mr. Benson Luk, and Professor Lau, Mr. Perry Yu, Ms. Nixie Lam, Mr. Holden Chow, Mr. Vincent Zhang, Mr. Chen Zhong Nei, and Ms. Judy Chen. First, Mr. Michael Tian. Thank you, Deputy Chair. Secretary, last week I asked the Secretary for Security on regulating against fake information. He passed the buckets to you. Actually, it has a lot to do with fighting against the epidemic. Dr. Leung said there is a fake voice recording of him, and the fake recording is widely circulated. Last week, it caused the more security guards to ask people to use the Leave Home Safe app, and it caused a lot of chaos. So how would you regulate against fake news or fake information? Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Tian, for your question. This is a very pertinent and very serious matter. After the 2019 Black Lives violence, people in Hong Kong saw the dire consequences on society as well as Hong Kong people caused by fake news. So we will strive to stamp the circulation of fake news. Under the existing legislative framework, we have criminal tool. We have legal tools to deal with maliciously spread fake news. Still, it is not comprehensive enough. So we have to identify more comprehensive ways and establish more legal tools to stop the spread of fake news. Do you have a timetable? Now, we are doing a very in-depth study. We have engaged experts to study the examples in different jurisdictions, including Western countries, Asian countries, our nations, and also our neighbors. Well, when you are doing this study, we still have fake news circulating. So will you just take a lying flag attitude and coexist with fake news? I don't know what news to believe anymore. Oh, Mr. Michael Tian, we will definitely follow these issues up stringently. If there is a criminal element, we will definitely prosecute it. And of course, you should clarify news, and we are calling out to people not to spread fake news. This is a new legislation. We have to study it. So last time, someone said that Professor Yun said we should have a personal ventilator to blow away the virus. So how can we deal with these the fake news? Well, there are a lot of examples like this. We hope we can complete this study promptly and deal with it. So you will coexist with the fake news, and you will just take a lying flag attitude. Well, the previous secretary, Mr. Caspar Choi, and the sports commissioner support building the racing course for cars in Hong Kong. It will support development of this sport in Hong Kong. So what do you think? Well, I have to reiterate, we are not taking a lying flag attitude, and we are not. We will definitely take a very serious attitude towards fake news about the automobile race course, I will invite the the Commissioner for Sports to take the question. Thank you, Mr. Michael Tian. The CDB and the Development Bureau has identified a new reclamation site in Lantau. New sports facilities will be built on top of the site. About building an automobile race course, it is part of our study, and we will definitely follow it up. Thank you, Commissioner for Sports. This is a great news. No more questions. Thank you, Mr. Michael Tian. I would like to remind members we have lots of members waiting to speak. So please control the question and answer within 4 minutes. Thank you. Next, Ms. Rebecca Chen. Thank you, Deputy. Now, before I ask my question, I would like to thank the Home Affairs Department. Now, from the press conference just now, we heard that we have breached the 2,000 threshold, and there are 5,000 preliminary cases, and there are thousands of people waiting to be hospitalized. I receive a lot of call for help. There are people confirmed at home, but no one sends them to hospital. The HAD has been very swift in providing help to these cases. I would like to thank the colleagues in the HAD for providing help to patients at home. Now, I have a question about 2 paragraphs on the paper. First, about youth. That's paragraph 8 on the paper. Like the Secretary said just now, the administration supports youth startups. And a youth startup at GBA cities. So you have funds and so on, but it seems like these are just slogans. Since you are encouraging young people to start their business in GBA cities, do you have a timetable when the government can establish a one-stop service unit at GBA cities to help Hong Kong youth, including helping them to find housing, medical needs, insurance, and so on. Now, Acting Secretary, you are responsible for youth affairs, so can you establish such an office in GBA cities? And paragraph 17. In the Tokyo Olympics, Asian Games, and so on, Hong Kong people have been very enthusiastic about sports. However, a survey shows that the time spent on exercise by Hong Kong students is a bit well below the world standard. And every week, students only have 19 minutes worth of physical education. It is among the lowest in the world. So how can you adjust school policies? How can you ensure schools to enhance, to increase time for sports and reducing times for study? I think this will be a great incentive for schools. Thank you, Ms. Chen, for your support. We understand many Hong Kong people are isolating at home. As a result, the HAD has established 2 hotlines, 1-833-019, 100 lines, and manned by 300 colleagues, operating 24 hours, answering people's questions. So for issues encountered by those isolating at home, we are pleased to help. Now, Ms. Chen asked about youth startups and sports. These are very different issues. On youth startups, on helping our youth startups, we have put in a lot of resources. We have the funding scheme for youth entrepreneurship in the GBA. We have committed $130 million to 16 experienced NGOs, including universities, to help youth entrepreneurs to start a business. We have successfully helped 230 youth startups involving more than 800 young people in Hong Kong, and also 4,000 young people were benefited by the scheme. They received support and incubation services. And also we have the funding scheme for experiential programs at innovation and entrepreneurial basis, as well as the Alliance of Hong Kong Youth Innovative and Entrepreneurial Basis in the GBA. This is a one-stop platform for entrepreneurial services for our youth. In GBA cities, we have specific measures to help our youth, including finding offices for them, finding housing for them, as well as applying for business registration required in the mainland. We are also helping Hong Kong youth at GBA cities with their livelihood issues. On sports, this is we have three policies, and one of the key measures is to popularize sports since a young age. We would like to nurture the interest of children in sports and make them more healthy. So we have put in a lot of resources on this front. On the ratio of PE lessons, as well as the collaboration with the Education Bureau, I would invite the Commissioner for Sports to give more details. Chair, on promoting sports at schools, there are two aspects. First, in lessons, in class, and second, extracurricular activities. Now the LCSD and different NSAs are offering a lot of free sports programs for students. Before the pandemic, the number of participants has been on the rise every year. In terms of classes, we have conveyed this message to the Education Bureau, requesting schools to increase the number of lessons of the number of PE lessons. According to the Education Bureau, there are a lot of factors to consider, and also we have to respect schools' decision. So no new guidelines have been issued. Thank you. Once again, I remind officials and members, please control the time within 4 minutes because there are a lot of members. The meeting will be adjourned at 6. I don't think we will have enough time, so please be precise. Mr. Michael Luk. Thank you, Chair. Since we are talking about the pandemic, well, I really envy people on the mainland because the mainland's government's anti-epidemic measures are very effective with the capable leadership of the government and the party, and the measures are very effective because the execution is very efficient. In Hong Kong, we don't have a lot of links between people, and it seems that the community is not very unified. And now the government is going to close all the mutual assistance association within this year. After the abolishment of this body, will you establish any new neighborhood organization to bring together women, youth, to take forward community management, sports, and so on? Would you consult the community for this? Many people are eager to chip in their efforts to build a better community. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Michael Luk, for your question. This is a very important topic, how we can enhance our community network. This is very important in terms of building a harmonious society in Hong Kong. So like Mr. Luk said, we intend to cancel the Mutual Assistance Association in phases.
香港嘅社會
Because there are a lot of changes to Hong Kong's situation. The MAC, Mutual Aid Committee, used to be a channel to disseminate information. Now we do have the district council, the area committees, the absorption of public opinions has been improved. We can see that in terms of the number of MACs, we have seen half of what the number what they used to be. There used to be 3,000 or so. Now it is 1,600. So each year there are less than 30 new MACs being set up. Well, my question is, does the administration have any study on how you can improve the grassroots work? People should be organized. The government should devote resources to lead them, to study them. Have you learned from the mainland in this regard? I think this is a very good suggestion. In the district, there are many organizations like Kai Fong Association, Youth, Women's Organization, the Sports and Recreational Association, and so on. They are making their contribution. The key thing is to organize them in a way that we can form a broad enough network which will go into the community. We would like to hear what members have to say. We will certainly be willing to listen. Mr. Luk. Chairman, during COVID, a lot of residents have been organized to take part in anti-pandemic work. And I hope that the administration will consult the district people who are familiar with the district affairs. Mr. Kenneth Leung. Thank you, Deputy Chair. I've got a couple of points for the administration regarding this area. The first one is the self-recommendation scheme. You've given us the age profile a moment ago. Now we have 5,000 or so applications coming through. In the past 3 years, 270 people have been taken on board. In other words, there are 5,000 young people who are willing to take part in the scheme, but still haven't been able to do so. It was said a moment ago that young people and district affairs are closely intertwined. Will you be considering increasing the size of the quota, like the DFCC and so on? Perhaps you can have some youth focus groups being formed to rope in more young people for them to take part in politics and debate policies. Now, those who were admitted to university in 2019, they failed to have any internship and exchanges in 2020. We're not sure whether they can make it this year for some exchanges. If they can't make it, then there will be no exchanges in the course of their university life. Hong Kong is a member of the GBA cities. Can't we find more NGOs? Can we have more internship opportunities? Now, if these companies do have businesses in the GBA, and if they have presence in the GBA and in Hong Kong, can't you consider having some sort of internship for the undergraduates? That way, they will be able to get some exposure in the workplace in the course of the university life. Secretary. Thanks very much, Mr. Leung. Mr. Leung has got a point in the self-recommendation scheme for youth. This year, the fifth tranche is about to start. We have 6,800 applicants, and 270 have been taken on board, and they have been appointed to 400 or so different posts. For the 6,000 or so who have not been roped in, and have you lost them? No, the answer is no. These are precious resources. Now, these 6,800 applicants are really committed, and they are capable of contributing to the government and Hong Kong. Now, because of the size of the quota, we cannot take them all on board. But given their consent, we have put their particulars in the system, and the different bureaus and departments will be able to rope them in. And we have subcommittees under the ASBs that can take on these talents. We do have a whole pool of resources that we can utilize when the opportunities arise, so please rest assured. As to the exchanges in internship, indeed, because of COVID over the past year or so, all these internships and exchanges did present considerable challenges, but we do have new ideas, and the subvented organizations can use the resources. They may not be able to send people to the GPA, but they can come up with various means to give the young people more exposure, both online and offline. We also have entrepreneurship programs. Internship and exchanges are really affected by the COVID, but if they are committed to have their startups cross the boundary, there is no stopping them. COVID doesn't really put pay to their ambition in this regard. We also have posts for internship, like in Cyberport. We have a few hundred internship opportunities for the graduates that are involved in the STEM program. Before their graduation, we allow them an opportunity to have some internship at the Cyberport. All these will continue. Thanks very much. Mr. Ma Fung Kwok has raised his hand. Time is marching on, and I suggest that draw a line after Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. Dr. Elizabeth Quat, please. Chairman, thank you. Of course, I'm anxious to see a good policy in terms of young people and in terms of sports, but I'd like to take this opportunity here to follow up on two areas that I've been pursuing. The first one is legislating against fake news, and the second one is insulting public officers. Chairman, at other panels, I've been pursuing these two matters, the PSP and the SP, but it is said that this policy is spearheaded by the HAB. So here I am talking about this. Fake news is really causing harm to Hong Kong. During the Black Riot saga, there was a lot of fake news that instigated hatred against the police. And during our anti-pandemic efforts, people are talking about the dodgy vaccines and so on. That all these fake news is really circulating widely. So this is a meeting of no more delay. The government should not be passing the buck between the different bureaus. Now, it is said that the chief executive has given the job to the HAB, and I hope that the bureau will get on with this as soon as possible, so that we can do something about the situation. Now, insulting public officers, really bewildered why this is for the HAB. Now, we initially talked about insulting police, but indeed there are so many public officers who, in executing their duties, are subject to abuse. And we hope that public officers can discharge the duty with dignity. In Macau, it is a two-way street. They protect the members of the public as well as the public officers. If the public officers are insulting the members of the public, they are in the wrong. And also, if public officers are discharging their duties and they get insulted, this is also an offense. It used to be within the purview of the other bureau, but now it is for the HAB. Now, what sort of timetable do you have? How soon are you going to get this off the ground? Secretary? Right, thanks very much. Dr. Kwok, two questions there. Fake news first. In answer to Mr. Michael Tin, I already addressed the issue. The HAB is responsible for this area. And there can be a number of options, and going down the legislative path is one of them. We are studying the matter at the moment, and this is not a simple task. As I said, we have to have regard to the experiences around the world, and we should seek to have an option which is best suited to Hong Kong. There can be a number of ways. First, we can make it a stringent criminal offense. If fake news appears, we can take legal action. This is a stringent approach. And second, we can do it by exhortation. If fake news arises, then the relevant authorities will give them some time to take the fake news off out of circulation. And also in the social media, they do have the obligation to make sure that the information disseminated on their platform is correct. If there is fake news, they do have the obligation to take it out of circulation. There can be a whole raft of options, and we are trying to find something which is most suited to Hong Kong. And we are studying the matter at the moment, and we are expediting the process. And we're trying to shorten the time for the study. We hope that within the first half of this year, the study will be over and done with, and we'll then be able to come up with more specific proposals to the administration. This fake news comes under the purview of the HAB, but this cuts across various other bureaus and departments. As to your second question, insulting public officers, I'm grateful to Dr. Kwok for her concerns for the public officers. During the Black Riot, public officers were subject to an awful lot of abuse. This work is in hand, but this is not put within the purview of the HAB. But I mean, we will be liaising with other bureaus to see how far along the work is at the moment. Thank you. Mr. Kenneth Lau? Chairman, thank you. I must make a declaration that I am owner of some of the Chou Tong land. Now, the government is trying to streamline and deal with the sale of Chou Tong land while observing the legitimate interest of the villages. I think we can release the potential of some of the Chou Tong land, and there should be more communication with the Hung Yuk with regard to rural development. Now, in terms of Chou and Tong land, it is a little bit anachronistic. I think the key thing is not to resume the land in a forcible manner. And the because this will cause irreparable damage to the villagers who would like to keep their tradition. In the NT North, there is a lot of Chou Tong land, and this form part of the northern metropolis. I think it's sooner we get the matter sorted out, the better it will be for us to get on with the development of the northern metropolis.
I understand that the HAB has had a meeting with the Hon Kuk. A framework has been set out about the arrangement of Chou Tong land. Because of the pandemic, large-scale consultation is not possible. And also, many owners of Chou Tong land are of an advanced age, and they are not accustomed to Zoom meetings. To avoid a prolonged consultation period, I think the HAB should do more. And I have written letters to the HAB. From the government's reply, I can see that the government has a limited understanding about Chou Tong land. I hope the government can make use of this opportunity to register the ownership of Chou Tong land, so that the development plan for new territories northeast can be taken forward smoothly. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Kenneth Lau. On Chou Tong land, the issue is very complicated. The New Territories Ordinance has been in place for more than 100 years, and many Chou Tong land goes back as far as 100 years. We want to enhance the management of Chou Tong land and also release the development potential of Chou Tong land with a bid to alleviating the housing problem in Hong Kong with the development of the northern metropolis. The HAB, Hon Kuk and Chou Tong owners would hold further meetings. We had the first meeting. We have established a membership list of the task force, the review group, as well as the terms of reference of the group. Next step will be to consult the Chou Tong owners. In January, we held an online meeting involving the members of the task force as well as representatives of New Territories and Chou Tong owners. The comments and feedback would be consolidated and followed up by the task force. About the understanding of Chou Tong land, yes, Mr. Kenneth Lau, the chairman of Hon Kuk, is right. We have never required Chou Tong land owners to register their ownership. Some owners have passed away and the information is not up to date. We hope Hon Kuk and representatives of Chou Tong land owners can consolidate the ownership information as soon as possible for us to follow up on. Now about the manager, the appointment of a manager of Chou Tong, as well as the sale of land owned by Chou Tong. These are subject to the authority. We hope that Hon Kuk can reach a consensus with the representatives of the Chou Tong land owners, so that we can complete the work, complete the review within a year. Next, Ms. Doreen Kong. Thank you, Chair. Let me turn up the volume. Secretary, I would like to ask you a question about the building management. In the policy address, the Chief Executive did not mention building management under the Home Affairs chapter. There is only a small paragraph about building management in the policy address supplement. Well, building management has evolved in the past decades. There were many challenges because of the flaws in the owners' corporations. There were many conflicts, and many cases were brought before the lands tribunal. I understand that the HAB would deploy colleagues to attend owners' corporations meetings. However, these colleagues are not equipped with expertise. According to my experience, the colleagues from HAB or HAD would just sit there, and they would not contribute. I understand we have ambassador schemes and so on. However, they are not of much help. It seems that it is a waste of the government's resources. So my question is, in terms of building management, what concrete programs do the HAB have to resolve the conflicts arising from building management? Prior to this meeting, I have received complaints from 2 owners' corporations. Second point about government restructuring. It seems that there is no mentioning of the portfolio of building management. Which bureau will take up this portfolio after the restructuring? Building management involves more than coordination. It requires a lot of expertise. Will the bureau set up an office a dedicated office to deal with the issue arising from building management? Thank you, Ms. Kong. Building management is a very important topic. Outside of work, people spend most of the time at home. So building management is very important. For public housing, the housing authority would be responsible for its management. Private housing estates and private buildings are run by private management corporations. So for some buildings, we have owners corporations and management company. Some have owners corporation, but no property management company. The third kind is buildings do not have owners corporation and is managed under the covenant. The fourth kind is the worst, free new buildings. So with owners corporations, we have the legal framework under Cap 344, the Buildings Management Ordinance. It sets out the establishments, the manner of establishments of owners corporation, and also the how OCs should be run. So at the next meeting of this panel, we will discuss about the amendments to Cap 344. I hope our members would support us in improving and enhancing the framework of Cap 344. And also for quality building management, we need the participation of a property management company. It is very important to ensure the quality of these companies. That's why a few years ago we had a new legislation to require to impose a licensing regime on property management companies. The LUK passed the bill. We have the Property Management Authority since then, and it is the licensing body for these companies. It helps to ensure the quality of property management companies. Now, 3 new buildings, they are the ones with the most problems. They are very old, and usually the flats are not occupied by the owners. The flats would be leased to tenants or even subdivided. There are many problems. That's why we want to encourage owners to form owners corporation, because after all, this is their property, and if anything happens, the owners have to take responsibility. So for 3 new buildings, before the establishment of an OC, we would appoint a resident as an ambassador for issues like fire safety or even structural safety. Any issues would be relayed to the HAD, and then we would pass it on to the relevant departments. This is a very important scheme, and we have other schemes to bring together tenants and owners. We have engaged property management companies to handle issues relating to 3 new buildings in all 18 districts. So rest assured, building management will be part of the portfolio of this bureau in the future. Thank you. Mr. Chen Yong, am I coming through? Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Secretary. Now we have stopped the violence and the chaos. Now we are trying to stem out the pandemic. So I support restructuring the community bodies and restructuring the governments to resolve the district's issues. Most importantly, we have to be more efficient in dealing with the pandemic. We have a lot of help from local bodies. So I hope the restructuring can achieve this purpose. And also we have to look forward. We have to learn the developments of the country and promote the China story. Now we should have a museum celebrating the victory of the war of resistance, and also we should have a museum celebrating the history of the party. Now, and also for Chinese expatriates, they have contributed a lot towards the country's opening. So I hope that we can have an office dedicated to issues of Chinese expatriates, because they can really bring in a lot of inputs into the development of the GBA. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chen. This is a very good suggestion for ourselves and for the education of our next generation. We have to pass on the history during the war of resistance. For example, the Dongjiang cavalry. We have to tell the next generation about their contribution. We have to have a clear policy on how we can educate our next generation on this history. So we will definitely listen to Mr. Chen and others about Chinese expatriates along the Belt and Road. This is a very good suggestion. They have contributed a lot indeed. Now we are renovating our museum. we are going to have a exhibition with the theme of the contribution made by Chinese expatriates. Hong Kong was a midway stop of Chinese expatriates going overseas. So this is also part of our history. We should make use of this opportunity to promote the Hong Kong and China story.
結中
Before I call upon Mr. John, looking at the time, it is 5:45. There are 8 members who have already put questions, and there are more than a dozen members who are waiting to speak. We're here till 6, suppose, by the schedule. Shall we extend the meeting by 15 minutes to 6:15? No comments? All right. We extend the meeting to 6:15. I hate to interrupt members, but I think I have to fit in as many members as possible. And I know that the Secretary would like to give a comprehensive reply, but will you be making things short? If you need, if you so wish, you can supplement in writing. Mr. John. Now we have experienced fake news and black riots, and the younger generation has been really polarized. So other than the internship, the entrepreneurship, and exchanges, what other measures do you have up the sleeve to heal the wound? Do you have any KPI as to how we can measure the success or otherwise of the programs? Now we are approaching the 25th anniversary of reunification. Do you have any programs in terms of art and culture and sports, and to showcase the world that Hong Kong has been a really great success in terms of one country, two systems, so that we can get rid of all these fake news automatically? Secretary? Secretary, please. Certainly, we will instill positive thinking, positive values to the younger generation. We've seen the Occupy movement and the Black Riot. The young people have been really poisoned by all these events. I think we have to deal with the issues and help the young people. As I said at the very beginning, we hope that the young people will have a sense of responsibility. They should have an aspiration and willingness to strive for the future of Hong Kong and the nation. And this remains our objective. We do have different programs to achieve that. We also have a life planning program to help young people develop more positive values and to carve out a positive path for themselves. Fake news. During the Black Riot period, the Hong Kong was surrounded by a whole lot of fake news. I think we have to guard against fake news, and this is important areas of work. Now, the 25A is a number one priority, and we're going to see the 25th anniversary, and this is going to be a big celebration. Now, we must bear in mind that because of COVID, we don't feel any festive atmosphere for the time being. Now, the most important thing is to put COVID behind us. Once we emerge on the other side, you're going to be seeing or feeling the festive atmosphere arising from the anniversary. Mr. Benson Luk. Chairman, thank you. The Secretary highlighted the youth work in Hong Kong and to deal with education, career pursuit, and home ownership of the young people. Now you have increased the percentage to 14.8% in terms of the young people being roped in under the self-recommendation program. This is commendable. But of the three areas I mentioned, home ownership is an important area. I think we should set young people's mind at ease. We have the youth hostel, and 10 years on, there are only 80 places available for the young people. This is a long way away from the 3,400 as our target, and including the 1,600, I mean, the number is still a long way off. When the scheme started, I was qualified, and I mean, now it's been dragging on for so long. I'm wondering what sort of timetable do you have in terms of the youth hostel? How soon are you going to be able to meet the target so as not to let the young people down? I've communicated with some of the NGOs involved in the youth hostels, and they said that there are so many hoops for them to go through, and I'm sure a lot of members have already talked about the youth issues, and there is a lot of coordination that will be required. And I hope that, like in para 36 of the PA said, there should be a dedicated office for the young people, like you can create a commissioner for young people, and that would provide a one-stop service for the youth policies. 2 minutes, Secretary, please. Thanks very much for your question. Indeed, this is a major issue. I'm sure that the whole of Hong Kong are facing a very difficult housing problem. I think the youth hostel program, this is not the only solution to the youth problem. The youth hostel is to help young people to have better development, and they will be given some freedom and some free space for them to develop themselves, to carve out a path for themselves going forward. And the youth hostels are charging favorable rental, and they will be able to save up for the future. Third, we'd like to use the idle land, and we would like to put the land to better use. It doesn't mean to say that with youth hostels all the problems can be resolved. Now, we are progressing on a step-by-step basis with regard to youth hostel, but this is not an easy task. There are a lot of other factors involved. We need to have the non-profit making organizations being able to have the idle land, and we need to have the organizations that are interested in pursuing this. And third, their programs are cost-effective. Their programs are doable. It takes all these factors coming together. We also need to fulfill all the town planning requirements. So it is pretty challenging to get this off the ground, but we have managed to provide this in Tai Po, the FIG, and also the Yuen Long Martin Bok hostel is also coming on stream. I'm grateful to the last term of Let's Go for approving the TWGH, the Mun Mo Temple, and also the Jordan Girl Guide Association hostel. Professor Lau Chi-Pang, Chairman, thank you. This may not sound like something related to livelihood, but I'd like to take this up with the Secretary, and that's the cultural policy. In paragraph 20, the Secretary mentioned the 14th five-year plan, and to make Hong Kong an East meets West Center for International Cultural Exchange. This is a mission given to us by the nation. And in paragraph 13, Hong Kong needs to have long-term cultural policy to let young people learn more about the culture. That there are exchanges, there is internship and cooperation and so on. My question is, now, East meets West Center for Cultural Exchange. Now, how do you define East? I've trawled through the HAB website for Chinese culture, Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. It is very difficult for me to find something about Confucianism. And this has been tucked under one of the 6 main religions in Hong Kong. Now, this is one of the main missions created for Hong Kong. Do we just provide the space and the venue for East to meet West? Now, how to define East? Now, will the HAB be reviewing the situation, and will Confucianism be put in the category of religions in Hong Kong and develop like this? Or are we going to be reviewing the whole thing since the colonial days? How are we going to deal with Chinese culture? How have we been dealing with this all along? Or will the Bureau be doing more of the same going forward? Or are you going to refer this matter to the new Bureau? Hong Kong providing the venue and the space, and I think we should have our own cultural positioning. Are you going to just refer to the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau for them to deal with it? Secretary? Right. East meets West. I'm sure Chinese culture is so profound, and we are living in Chinese culture. Everything we do, everything we say, our writing system, our cuisine. I mean, this is a part of Chinese culture. It's not just about music and painting and so on. Religion is also part of the Chinese culture. Confucianism, as alluded to by Professor, is a part of the religions. We have Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. They are part and parcel of the Chinese religions. We also do a lot of work in terms of cultural legacy in our museums, libraries. This is evident. Under the 14th Five-Year Plan, Hong Kong has made an East meets West Center for International Cultural Exchange. We don't just deal with the hardware, we're also dealing with the software as well, so please rest assured. Madam Chen Yue-ming. Chairman, thank you. Secretary. My question is about rural management and district administration. Under the NT, or New Territories Ordinance, the district office is responsible for this rural management. Also, the Cho and Tong land application and the small-scale work in the NT. This has attracted only $160 million in terms of funding. In Takulang village, for instance, we have to wait anything up to 3 to 5 years for street lighting to be provided. And if we want to have a proper, decent road, the HAB said that they will not be able to cope with it. And for the small-scale work, you don't have good enough policy. And after the Black Riot, the functions of the district councils has been undermined. And has the administration consider how soon are you going to be coming up with the review of the district administration. But let me say something about the Chou and Tong. We have set up a working group already, and we hope that the review will be completed within a year, with a view to reviewing the operation and releasing more land. District administration is a broad subject. You've seen what's happening to the district councils. A lot of members have resigned, and many district councils have seen the operation undermined. And this is not something that can be resolved in the near future, but the next term of administration will certainly deal with this. That the Chief Executive has instructed the HAB to deal with this particular issue. Now, for rural matters, I defer to my colleague. Make it brief, please. Chairman, thank you.
Concerning rural minor work, we have committed more funding every year, $15 million or more each year. Works departments would put the head together to look at the progress, and we will review the progress. Well, if it takes 3 months to fix a lamppost, that's totally unacceptable. Thank you. Next, Mr. Perry Yu. Thank you, Deputy. Good afternoon, Secretary. I thank colleagues at different district offices for helping us. I suggest the administration collaborates more with hotels to provide quarantine rooms for close contacts and patients with mild symptoms. It can alleviate the pressure of faced by panic spray. Now, about the restructuring of the reorganization of the government structure. Of course, we welcome the idea of the establishment of the Culture, Sports, and Tourism Bureau. So my first question is, when will the government consult the relevant sectors, including the tourism sector? About antiquities and monuments, they are very valuable tourism resources. After the reorganization, the portfolio is still under the Development Bureau. So would the administration consider subsuming the portfolio under the Culture, Sports, and Tourism Bureau? Now, the Financial Secretary or Secretary for Commerce and Economic Commerce and Development is responsible for tourism. Now, after the reorganization, shouldn't it be put under the portfolio of the Chief Secretary? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yu. About the reorganization of the government structure, we are happy to have Ms. Doris Ho, the head of the Policy Innovation and Coordination Office, with us. Ms. Ho, please. Concerning the reorganization, we have been consulting the relevant sectors in the cultural sectors as well as the sports sector. I think we have also consulted the tourism sector. It seems that the idea is well received. Now, culture, sports, and tourism. Culture and sports can drive the development of tourism, and vice versa. Tourism can promote the development of culture and sports. The second question of Mr. Yu, why isn't the Antiquities and Monuments Office under the portfolio of the new bureau. Currently, it is under the Development Bureau. We have a program to revitalize and enhance antiquities and monuments. In terms of conservation of antiquities and culture, we have to strike a balance between conservation and development. If the portfolio is under the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau, then it will not cover the scope. Now, previously, or at present, the tourism is under the portfolio of the Secretary for CED. Now, under the reorganized government structure, it will be the Chief Secretaries for Administration's portfolio. After the reorganization, there will be 15 bureaus. We would like to make use of these opportunities to even out the workload between secretaries. Like we said, tourism will be under the Chief Secretaries for Administration's bureau portfolio under the new structure. Next, Mr. Yang. Thank you. I would like to give my thanks first. I thank the colleagues in the district offices, especially the district offices, especially the 2 district offices in my constituency. I would like to thank them. And I have 3 suggestions. First, about the pathways for elite athletes. I know the government is putting a lot of attention on athletes, elite athletes. However, you have to think about the future pathway for athletes as well. Can we create a position in primary and secondary schools to be filled by retired athletes? And about youth startups, I have a declaration of interest to make. My organization has successfully applied for a youth startup program under the HAD. There were more than 100 applicants. However, the approval rate was low. Can the administration increase the commitments to help youth start their own business? Now, I think I endorse the idea of having a one-stop platform in the GBA cities. Now, about 3 new buildings. The Bureau is going to extend the scheme to all 18 districts. Please do so promptly. 3 new buildings are facing a lot of issues, including hygiene. So please speed up your work. Now, about the CAP 344, I know that at the next meeting we will discuss 344. So I'm not going to go into details. I will reserve my questions and comments for the next occasion. For some private housing estates, even major ones like Whampoa, no owners corporations can be set up. So this is I will leave it till the next time. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Yang. We also thank Mr. Yang for his contribution. On sports, yes, we have a fund to support due progression pathways for our athletes. It also covers the retirement plan of athletes. And also we have a sports promotion program at schools. So retired athletes can take up coaching positions or take up the position as a promoter at schools. Now we have a fund with $130 million for 230 youth startups. These are the successful applicants. So the point is to offer quality programs to help our young entrepreneurs. CAP 344 is the amendments to CAP 344 will deal with the 3 new buildings issue. Next, Mr. Hon Chung. Please unmute yourself. Am I coming through? Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Secretary, just very briefly about the fake news law. I know it is still your responsibility. Ms. Elizabeth Quart has put a question to you. We would like to have a timetable soon because fake news is really harmful. Second, I would like to thank the Secretary as well as HAD, especially the district officers. They have been really helpful. In Tuen Mun, for example, in terms of testing, the officers have responded to our request to add more testing points or implementing the electronic ticketing system. It surely helps a lot. The colleagues are very helpful. That's why we receive a lot of comments from our constituencies. They could make use of the Stay Home Safe hotline to get information about home isolation and so on. Or at least through the hotline, the residents can voice their requests or complaints to the administration. Now, supposedly, the FEHD should be the departments to man these hotlines. Well, maybe they are overburdened. So I hope the Secretary can make sure that all 100 lines of the Stay Home Safe hotline are available for households with elderly people and children. If the colleagues get hold of these information, you can pass it on to the relevant departments for swift actions. So this is what we have heard from the residents. These are good things that we have heard. So I hope the Secretary can keep up the good work of the HAD. At least the residents can find help through the hotline. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hon Chung. Now, before I invite the Secretary to speak, now the time is 6:13. According to the rules, I have to consult all members present today. I've asked the administration via the Secretariat, and they are agreeable to further extending the meeting. Including Mr. Hon Chung, 15 members have spoken. 4 members are still waiting to speak. So 4 minutes each for them, plus the administration replies. We can conclude the meeting within 20 minutes. So if subject to your view, I will extend the meeting until Mr. Ma Fung-kwok has spoken. Is it agreeable? Yes, then I will extend the meeting until Mr. Ma Fung-kwok's turn. Mr. Frank Cheng. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Chow, for your suggestion. This is Mr. Jack Chen. Thank you, Mr. Chow, for your suggestion. We are working together to fight the epidemic, including providing voluntary and compulsory tests and so on. The hotline service is one of our key measures. Under the Stay Home Safe scheme, we have established the hotlines promptly with our own resources. There are 2 call centers. The line is the number is 1-833-019, 100 lines operating 24 hours around the clock. We have deployed 350 colleagues under the HAD and the LCSD to work in 3 shifts. Every day we receive over 1,000 calls. So our colleagues have been very busy. If necessary, we will increase the number of hotlines. And also, we are working in tandem with FEHD and the HA. We have a so-called referral system concerning health-related issues that we would pass the calls to the HA. And for other issues, we would pass the cases on to the Social Welfare Department.
Thank you, Secretary. Mr. Vincent Cheng, Chairman of the panel, please. Thank you, Deputy. I welcome the presentation by the Secretary regarding the Home Affairs. We have marvelous results from the Olympic athletes. We also have to deal with the museum and so on. Now, HAB deals with people a lot. If we cannot keep on top of COVID, we will not be able to open the Kai-Tak Sports Park and so on. I'd like to follow up on Mr. Holden Chow's point about support for people who are isolating at home. Now, I've got 2 questions here. You've got the hotline there. This has been running for some time. What sort of questions do people normally ask, and what sort of support have you given? Secretary, you said the referrals are made to the DH and also the welfare organizations. Can you mobilize some more community resources? During COVID, a lot of people are feeling emotionally down. They do have a lot of anxieties, a lot of emotional problems. If we can have some volunteers who are chatting with them to let them unbosom themselves to sort out their emotional problems, it would be a good idea. And I think that this would be really a step in the right direction. Secretary? Chairman, thank you. Thanks very much, Chairman Cheng, for the suggestion. This is an eminently good suggestion. The hotlines do play a pretty good role. We managed to address the concerns and anxieties of the public. We're keeping an eye on the numbers. The calls are coming in the thousands. Roughly, about 40% are about medical problems. So we will refer these issues to the hospital authority and the Department of Health. About 15% have to do with the welfare issues, and referrals have been made. Now, Mr. Cheng has got a very good point there. We can mobilize the community resources and disseminate the right information, and we can help people with emotional problems. Now, these are people in isolation, in particular the singletons, the elderly singletons. They do need concerns and care. We may be dealing with the medical problems, the welfare problems, but these elderly people would like to have someone to turn to for a bit of a chat. If we can mobilize the community resources to sort out the emotional problems on the part of the senior citizens, and also in particular those who are single, it would be a good idea. Next, Mr. Kwok Wai Keung. Thanks very much, Chairman. At long last, we heard from the Secretary that the study on fake news will be wrapped up by the first half of this year. We hope that not only do you wrap up this study, you should have a specific legislative proposal. Fake news would be like a virus. We don't really want to live with the virus. We don't really want to live with fake news. And I hope that you will speed up the legislative process. And we hope that we can achieve zero COVID infection. There can be a number of ways. I think we should promote digital awareness in schools. And I think in at different levels of learning, this can be incorporated. Second, in terms of building management, from what we know, under CAP 344, the owners corporations will hold AGMs every 12 to 15 months. COVID is preventing this from happening in many large housing estates. They simply cannot hire the right venue. They can't hire any community hall. They can't use the restaurants. So many housing estates, the large ones, cannot hold any AGMs. So does the Secretary know about the housing estates that have gone on for a long time without any meetings, any AGMs? What sort of support have you been able to give them? Secretary, thanks very much. Fake news, I've already addressed that. We will speed up the process as to whether we should go down a legislative path and how we're going to do it. We'll do it at the right time. Perhaps our director can fill us in on the details about the AGMs. Thanks very much, Mr. Kwok. Let me supplement. Under the ordinance, the meetings can enjoy some exemption because given COVID, we have to observe social distancing, and we would exercise our discretion. Depending on their circumstances, there can be some flexibility allowed there. Under the BMO, there is the requirement that they should have an AGM every so often, but having regard to COVID and also having regard to the practical difficulties experienced by the owners' corporations, the authority will try to render as much assistance as possible in terms of the use of venues. We did offer some assistance in this regard. But as I said, having regard to COVID, we do exercise our discretion and allow flexibility there. And until they form the new team, we will allow them to stick with the existing arrangement until such time as the COVID eases enough for them to be able to hold the AGMs. Thank you. Thanks very much, Director Wong. Last two speakers, Madam Judy Chan. Thank you, Chairman, and thanks very much, Secretary. I am concerned about the reorganization of government structure, government setup. I know that the HAB will be taking over the youth affairs. I am in support of the youth-related work, but I'm more concerned about the resources. Now, we expressed concerns about the 3-0 buildings and building management in these blocks, and will the resources for these areas be taken away? I know that the Secretary will be trying on a pilot basis to liaise more with the 3-0 buildings. I know that the HAB, in dealing with these blocks, did have a role, but the role seems to be rather passive. Now, with the support of local organizations, will you be able to devote more resources. So will the Secretary be given more details about how you deal with these 3-0 buildings? Also, youth work. There are many young people who are really committed to serving the community, but in the anti-pandemic work, the HAB seems to be dealing more with the Women's Association, the Townsmen Association, and so on. And I hope that you would rope in the young people more in our anti-pandemic work. Thank you. Secretary. Thank you very much, Madam Chan. The 3-0 buildings, please rest assured, Madam Chan, that we will continue to devote more resources to deal with these housing blocks. During COVID, we have been rendering proactively assistance to these 3-0 buildings to do the cleansing work. They don't have any management. They simply cannot identify anybody to help them with this kind of work. So we are deploying the cleansing teams to do the cleansing work for them, or we put some hand rubs and some face masks for them to use, and we are mobilizing the local resources. Youth development, indeed, there will be no less resources being devoted to this as a result of the restructuring. The HAB, should these proposals be taken on board, the HAB will become the Home and Youth Affairs Bureau. So there will be more attention given to youth. Madam Chen said that we should rope in more young people. Indeed, this is a good idea. Thank you. Right, last speaker, Mr. Ma Fung Kwok, please. Right, just switch myself on. Thank you very much, Chairman. I've got 2 questions for the Secretary. Professor Lau already asked a question about Hong Kong being developed into an East meets West Center for international cultural exchange, and also going out and bringing in that we have the ETO, and perhaps we can incorporate a cultural element into it. Now, this is under the purview of the CEDB at the moment. Now, how do we support the art and cultural sector to venture out of Hong Kong? I know that you have the development fund to support the arts group to go out of Hong Kong to showcase their talents. Now, this has been shifted to the Arts Development Council. Will they be able to do as good a job? So I'm more concerned about the external and internal elements. District administration. Now, the government is going to do away with the mutual aid committees. District organizations are pretty good at taking on board public opinions and also disseminating government information, like the COVID information. That these organizations are going to be done away with. Now, the district councils have become really politicized over the years. I think we have a missing link here in our endeavor to fight the pandemic. They're dealing with waste disposal, law and order, the promotion of arts and culture. They do have a pretty good role to play. So how can the government make up for this missing link once the MACs are going to be done away with? Secretary, please. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Ma. Mr. Ma has got a point there. The East meets West Center for cultural exchange. I think we have to venture out of Hong Kong to showcase our talents in the mainland, in different provinces and municipalities. We are promoting our arts and culture groups, and also we are bringing in the counterparts into Hong Kong, and we're also promoting Hong Kong overseas.
Currently, we have signed memorandums on cultural exchange with 27 places in the mainland, and also we have entered into. Sorry, the speaker is not coming through the mic. Sorry, the speaker is off mic. Sorry, the speaker has not turned on the mic. We are a point of cultural exchange. Every year we have a heavy weight events, for example, the Basel event. It is these are world-renowned events. In terms of art trade, we rank 5th in the world. 23% of art deals were made in Hong Kong, so we are an important hub. In terms of anti-epidemic work, we have enlisted the help of local bodies massively. Townsmanship organizations and so on, they have given us a lot of help. In terms of distributing the rapid testing kits, the HAD has worked with local bodies to distribute more than 1 million testing kits. Among them, 700 to 800,000 packs were the packaging were done by our volunteers. And like Mr. Chen has suggested, we have invited help from young people as well. So 19 members have spoken today, and they have put forward very meaningful questions. The portfolio of the Home Affairs Bureau is very extensive. The questions covered culture, sports, and youth affairs. Like members said, to achieve the long-term development of these aspects, first of all, we have to control the epidemic. We have to put the epidemic under control. So I hope the administration can strive its best to win this battle. So I thank the administration as well as the members. We have extended the meeting by half an hour, so thank you for your time. According to the Secretariat, we don't have any AOB. Does any member wants to propose any AOB? If not, then then the meeting is adjourned. I wish you all good health amidst the epidemic. Thank you.